Hello, my name is Mary Ellen Akaza and I am the CEO and Executive Director of the Stark Library. Here at the Stark Library, we like to think of ourselves as the community living room. Everyone is welcome at the library, regardless of socioeconomic status, race, gender, age. We serve everyone in the community. The library has something for everyone, from babies through seniors. This spring and summer, library staff have been working hard on our reopening plans for the library. We have been taking a phased approach to these plans and working safely and cautiously to reconnect library patrons with their library staff and the collections and computer access that we offer in our buildings. Our goal was to open all library locations by late August, and we have accomplished that goal. So all of our library locations, including our newest at the Jackson Community Branch, are now open to patrons to visit, to use computers, to browse the collections, and to get back inside the library.
Hi, I'm Jen Welsh. I'm the Community Libraries Director here at Stark Library, and I'm in charge of all the public services. So we've been quite busy trying to think of ways to get our public services back available to the public who needs them. When we closed down in the middle of March, it was really a difficult thing for our staff, who are used to arriving every day in order to meet the patrons they know so well and to provide those services that they know are essential to their communities. When we were providing service in our first phase through virtual services, we found lots of innovative ways to do that. But really what our staff wanted was to be back face-to-face with the people that they know. When we started our phase 2, they got a step closer to that through our Library to Go model. They were able to see familiar faces at our drive-up locations and our walk-up pickups, and were able to provide the books and the AV items, anything someone wanted. What we're most excited about now is to finally be able to welcome people back through our doors. A lot of our staff have been approaching this with a little bit of nervousness, just like the public might, trying to think, how do we do what we are so used to doing in such a familiar environment, in such a new and different way. So our challenge has been with these reopenings to find ways to do that that are safe both for our staff and for our patrons. Some of the things that have been particularly challenging are how to provide one-on-one help to patrons. We know that it's one thing to open up our computers to have access, but we need more than that. Many of the people who come to us to use our computers are also in need of help for how to do those processes. The world's a complicated place right now, and many of us need all the assistance we can get to understand how to access things in new ways through these virtual environments. So we've done many things in our areas, including safety precautions like reducing the number of people in our spaces, reducing how long they can stay in our spaces in order to reduce exposure. We have added equipment like acrylic screens, like you've seen at many of the retail establishments you've visited. We've created innovative ways for people to provide remote assistance or assistance adjacent to a patron as they're helping them on the computer through acrylic barriers or technology options.
I'm Julia Shaheen, and I'm the Literacy Manager at Stark Library, and I oversee our Summer Challenge program as well as all of our early literacy programming and trainings. And this summer we took Summer Challenge to a whole new level by adapting our program and making it more interactive and easier for families to follow at home. They could pick up a map at any of our locations in brochure boxes, or stop by one of several parks in Stark County, and we partnered with Canton City Parks, Stark Parks, Plain Township Parks to post our Summer Challenge maps. And then they can complete activities or read while they earn points this summer and earn prizes. This summer we also partnered with Stark Hunger Task Force and the Children's Hunger Alliance to provide summer food backpacks to families who were in need, because with the schools being closed for the summer and children not getting all of the meals that they would normally get at school, we could offer them backpacks filled with dry goods, pantry items that could last them several days, so that they could have something to eat when they're at home when they would normally get it at school.
My name is Stephanie Cargill, and I'm the Communications Director here at Stark Library. One of the challenges throughout the pandemic has been communicating with our patrons. And in Stark County, about 40% of the people who live here do not have internet access, so communicating virtually is difficult for them. So we have provided Wi-Fi access at all of our locations that extends out into the parking lot. And on any given day, you could drive by any Stark Library location and see people in the parking lot or sitting outside the door accessing Wi-Fi just so that they could live their life every day. In addition, we started a blog so that patrons could know what was happening at the library while our buildings were closed. Even though our buildings were closed, there was still a lot going on behind the scenes, and patrons wanted to know how they could access library services. We talked about things like our Library to Go service, talked about our reopening plan, and also the programming that we have.
The types of programming that we're offering now include virtual story times live on Facebook, maker programming, book recommendations, book clubs, and we're working on so many other things that we can adapt from our in-house programming to our virtual platforms.
As we're reopening our locations to the public, we're focused on a few key things that will help keep our patrons and our staff safe and help us keep our buildings open. One of those is requiring everyone, staff and patrons alike, to wear masks when they're inside our buildings. Another is that we're focusing on social distancing. We're using signs in our locations to help remind people to stay 6 feet apart. We're using acrylic barriers when there are times when staff and patrons need to come a little closer in order to accomplish a transaction. And we're allowing a limited number of people in our buildings in order to make sure we're not overcrowding any spaces. In addition, we're really focused on the safety of our materials. These are shared resources and always have been, but right now we're more aware than ever of how we can share these resources while keeping each other safe. You'll notice when you return items at our locations, we quarantine those for 4 days. That time limit has been substantiated by research that's been done by a company here in Ohio that's being used nationally to look at the times that the virus stays on any of a number of materials that are used for library books and AV items. So our materials are quarantined carefully for 4 days before they go back on the shelf for patrons to browse.
Things may look very different when patrons walk through the doors of our buildings as we reopen. So the communications team has created a series of signs to help them navigate their way through this new world. We have signs that remind people to keep a good social distance, to remind them to be wearing masks, to help them know where to stand and wait for services, and signs as simple as where they can find their movies or music.
People always say that the library's business is books, and certainly books are a big part of the business that we provide to the community. They're one of our biggest products, but I would say libraries are in the people business. And during this pandemic, we've had to rethink completely how we connect with our communities, how we reach our patrons, and it was really illustrated to me during this pandemic because we were serving a community base that we were no longer able to see. And I know myself and my staff, we missed our interactions with our patrons and our communities, and I know that our patrons missed seeing our staff as well. And this point became even clearer to me during our first returns event. We had a special drop-off day here at Main Library, and I was greeting people as they drove in along Market Avenue. And it was so wonderful to see familiar faces in person, to be able to greet people as they came to bring their library materials back. Of course, people hadn't seen each other in months, so it was really wonderful to be out of the house for me personally and to get to see some familiar faces, and for people to be united around a shared passion of reading, of books, and wanting to get back inside our building so that they could visit with familiar library staff and to borrow more materials to read. So for me, libraries are all about people, and we are thrilled that we are able to serve our community even while our buildings were closed.